So in this video, we're going to tell you about how to find leaks and then fix them. A lot of people, when they're running vacuum, they've got leaks in their woods. We do now, and it's probably about our third or fourth week into our season. And so we're going to show you here is this is a classic case of a leak. So if you see, if I push that down, you see how that sap is kind of gurgling in the line. Hopefully that comes out okay on the camera.
Oh, there we go. I think we got
How's
it.
that?
There we go.
All right, so that tells you there's a leak. That should be moving nice and slow. Even there might be a lot of air bubbles, it should go nice and slow. And we'll show you in a second what a normal one should look like with vacuum. So with this, we're gonna go walk up it. Actually, my lovely assistant has already walked up it and has already found the problem. In this case, it's a leaky spout. You can actually, I can see it from here. I can see the spout. And it's one, I'm just gonna make it really easy on us. I'm just gonna cut that spout right out of there and just put a coupling in the tubing. I'll show you what we do, but we'll walk over and we'll show you what that actually looks like on the spout. And so at this point, I'll take over camera control. And we'll walk over here, show you what it looks like. It's a beautiful sunny day here in northern Maine. So if you see the tubing, there we go, let me get zoomed out here. So if you see the tubing, see what this is doing here? You follow that right back up, see the spout. Now, spout happens to also be right next to a big crack, and then just below it here is another big crack. That tells me it is into one of those seams, and I look way on up above it. Up in there is an old tap hole. Probably when we were tapping this tree, we missed what we were, missed the old tap holes because we were much lower in the snow here. And the, probably had snow like stuck to the trees, which makes it even harder to find these things. So these things happen. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. So in this case, I'll just show you what we do here real quick. Like, pass the camera back off. So I'm gonna pull out my tubing tool. And this is just one of those quick, easy fixes. In this case, we were, according to old standards, you can tap an 18-inch tree, put 2 taps on it. But recent studies have shown that doing that, you're only gaining maybe an extra 30% or whatever worth of sap out of that tree. So at that point, what's the point of having a second tap? It's just double the holes, double your non-conductive wood, and double the trouble. So instead of just having to find 1 tap hole, now you have to find 2. So this is at least an 18-inch tree or bigger. So we're gonna make this real easy. Just cut that out of there. Quickly pop that connector in, because when you open up something like this on your vacuum line, you are messing with the flow of every tree around it. And depending on how far away you are from another main line, like maybe you're close to, like we are, just down the hill behind us is where they all come in, and that will mess with the flow of those taps on the other main line as well. Then to pull it, I carry my multi-purpose channel locks here, and get the real channel locks, you know, don't buy any of that tiny stuff. If you're looking for tools, maybe another time we'll do another video on tools, but you can pull the tap right out of the tree with that. You can use it to clamp down on saddles. If you got slide fittings in your woods, you can use it to loosen them up or tighten them up really good. And so there's a pretty good tool, but maybe we'll do one whole video here at some point on just tools that we use in the woods, what we find that works, maybe stuff that's worked okay, maybe not so well. But that's the initial part of leak fixing and walking and trying to find them. One of the things we will do, if we hadn't found that one yet, I'm just gonna set that there for a second, is I don't know how well it's going to show up because the sun's like kind of right there, but I will pull the tubing down and I will make intentionally a little belly in it, and I'll see if that fills up with sap, and you can use that as a quick easy fix to, or a quick easy find it tool to work your way up a run of tubing and find it. Another thing to do is, especially if you're not finding it right off, is run your hand along the tubing. Sometimes just take your glove off and run your hand along it, and you might find where a bird maybe landed on it and its talons dug in, or a squirrel chewed on it, or maybe even you got small woodpeckers and they just kind of poke one little hole in it, and we found a lot of those. So those are some of the things you might find on your tubing, and you just gotta watch out for them. And those are easy too. You just put your tool on, cut that bad part out, put a coupling in. Sometimes it's bad enough you actually got to use a couple of couplings and a length of tubing. So like I carry, if I can find a loose one here, I carry spares. So I can make a little patch out of the job out of this and use it to replace a run of tubing or a section of tubing if I have to. So we're gonna go up the hill here in a couple minutes and we'll show you what a good run of tubing should look like with sap flowing through it with no leaks. Okay, so folks, this here is what you would see if everything's perfectly normal. See, if you look over here, we can watch the sap and the air bubbles just kind of slowly work their way through. Nothing serious. They're all flowing pretty good, not a problem. And that's what they should look like. So when you come to a line, you can just look at it. It's usually what I do. Sometimes if it's looped up like this, I'll just look back here, and if I see sap and it's not really doing anything, it's not like rushing like the last one we just saw, then I know it's good. Now sometimes you can get tricked if you do this and you push down on it. Now you got a loop that's bending down, and all that sap that's further up the line all rushes down into that loop, and for a second there it'll look like it's leaking, but all it is it's all rushing down into this loop and up and out, and it will settle out. So that's some of the tips and tricks to figuring out what you got and diagnosing it. And see, like all these little air bubbles here, don't worry about them because everything's moving slowly anyways. That's just the gases and everything coming out of the tree with the sap. I mean, it's not just straight water. It's, you get some of the gases and things that are building up, which is also what's creating the pressure for the sap to come out of the tree. Okay. This is another little tip for you guys on fixing leaks. I don't know if you can hear this right now, but see if you can hear that on the camera at all, that saddle is leaking. So with this, what I do in my woods, all of my saddles get wire tied. Now we just found this and previously pulled the wire ties off of it because they were on wrong. And I'm going to show you what I do for a proper tie job on saddles. I don't care whose saddle they are, CDL, LaPierre, Leader, H2O, Dominion and Grimm, any of them, you're going to want to put wire ties over them. Now, you don't want to go over your wire and your pipe at the same time as you do over your saddle, because you're just going to create a leak. That's what was going on with this one. As soon as the pipe is trying to pull one way and the wire is trying to pull another way, it's going to just pry that saddle away from the pipe. So what we do is we go over the saddle and the pipe itself and just crank that down there. A little tricky because this tree's right here. And silence. That's what you want to hear in the woods. You don't want to hear anything. So whether it's old install, new install, this is a trick I learned quite a few years ago, and from a big producer up my way. And we went through our woods because we found that most of our leaks, or about 50% of them anyways, were caused by saddles that were just leaking. And we'd come through and we'd tighten up on the clamps on the saddle, and it didn't work. It was a temporary fix. It fixed it for a day or two, and then you're right back out there again, fixing it again. So when I saw that he had his saddles wire tied straight to the pipe, I said, yep, that's what we're gonna do. So we went through and we started doing that. And so that's what I do, new install. If I'm fixing something in any of my older sections of the woods, do the same thing. And it's a nice fix for what otherwise would be, a lot of problems. I mean, how many saddles you got kicking around in the woods? So that solved it. And my guess, that's probably a quarter to half an inch of leakage right there, at least a quarter anyways. And those all add up. And if you start talking like we got 7,000 taps, start adding up how many saddles that are, or if you say we have 3 taps to per saddle, yeah, that's a lot of saddles. So we always wire tie them. And like I said, don't get the wire and the pipe. You want just the pipe and the saddle. And then that should solve your leak problems, or at least a lot of them in your woods.